What's up, everyone? Welcome to ShockCast Episode 9. My name's Luke Taldi, and what a wonderful week to be a fucking gamer. I swear to God, this has been one of the best E3s I can remember in recent history, and we've had a lot of great E3s. Joining us today, we've got Giuseppe Nelva, of course,
Hello, everyone.
Ryan Meitzler,
I'm surprised Giuseppe's actually alive after this week. So,
I'm alive. I had a bit of a crunch beard.
and the slacker of the week, who doesn't have to post any news coverage, Chris Conlon.
I slept great.
You son of a bitch.
I
All
think
right.
he's fired.
Already? Jesus Christ.
All right, so, Giuseppe, you had something you want to say.
We have a little bit of a disclaimer. So this is not going to be the usual VU1 E3 thingy. We're going to react to certain E3 news and announcement, but we're not going to do Sony won E3 or Microsoft won E3 or Electronic Arts failed, that kind of stuff, because it's done. To be honest, there isn't any company that won E3. Won E3 is me, you, Lou, everyone here, because we're getting a ton of great games. So we won E3, and so let's put that aside. And we're not going to do any of that thing. I've seen a ton of articles in the past few days, like really a ton on. Sony won E3, Microsoft won E3, Nintendo won E3. No, not many Nintendo won E3 actually, but quite a few of every single side, and or saying, "Oh, Microsoft failed, Sony was shit because of this." Nothing of that. Nothing of this. Basically, every single one of those articles could easily fit in our 8-bit idiot segment, so we're not going to do that. Unfortunately, they're not going to fit in our 8-bit idiot segment because we found something worse. But we're gonna get there later. But yeah, that is it for the disclaimer, and we can start our podcast.
I mean,
Before
it makes no sense to talk about who won E3, seeing it's very clear Ouya won. I mean, strongest presence they've ever had. All right, so if you're joining us right now on Twitch, thank you. We love having you here. If you're not on Twitch, you're listening to this on a podcast service or YouTube. We record this every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And we'd love for you to come. Normally we have a giveaway. This week we don't. We have so much news we couldn't go out and ask developers and publishers to see if they'd like to give one up. But normally we do giveaways. We have comment sections, and we frequently love to interact with you guys there. So come join us. All right. So what has everyone been playing this week? Have you been playing anything this week? It's been a hugely busy week. So Ryan, what have you been doing?
I've been playing the Watching E3 Conferences game. That's really about it. I think the only game I've actually really been playing, I reviewed Mirror's Edge, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and then a little bit of Overwatch in between conferences. But other than that,
actually
that's
talk about it now.
Yeah.
Mirror's Edge. Okay, yeah.
Let's get it up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I reviewed Mirror's Edge Catalyst, a game which I've been looking forward to for a while. Obviously, that it first got announced 2 years ago, and it's obviously a follow up to Mirror's Edge, Dice's game. And overall, I gave it a score of a 7, which I really enjoyed it. I think it's hard because I feel like a lot of other places kind of gave it 6-7 range, which people are like 8 or so, and people are saying, oh, that's not good. But it's a good game. I think it does have its issues. I think it does kind of have a lot of issues that kind of carry over from the first game that are better in this game, but not quite perfected. But the whole aspect of the game being this parkour action game is still really really good in this game. And especially because this game they've expanded it to an open world rather than a linear game, so you get a lot of opportunity to really experiment and do a lot of really cool stunts and action and things like that.
Got it. Now,
They do so badly in reviews. Generally,
It's been getting mixed. I think it's been
middling, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's been more mixed than anything else. Some have really liked it, and then others have been a little bit more critical of it.
Now, if you're
I
not
actually
a
didn't
fan,
have time to check any review of it. So I was wondering.
if you're not a fan of the series, you haven't played Mirror's Edge Original, which you should, because I think that's a great game.
It is, yeah.
So, would you recommend it still, or is it kind of you're a fan of this world, so you like it more?
I think people that are going to go into this game are probably fans of the original game. But the thing is that this is technically a prequel, and it almost acts more as a reboot than it does a proper prequel. So you really don't need to have played the original to enjoy this one. You can still enjoy it on its own terms. But I think it is obviously, I mean, this is definitely a game that, like, the original Mirror's Edge was not like a huge sales success. It was very much like kind of a cult favorite. Like, it had a very small but vocal fan base.
Right.
So I feel like, and that's pretty much why we got this game, is because they've been, clamoring for a sequel for so long. But I think you could enjoy it either way. I think people that like, I think it'll be more enjoyable. I think people that are going to be coming to it are coming from playing the original game, but I think whether you play the original or not is not a factor.
Right. Now, Chris, what have you been doing?
So, I've been scratching the Destiny itch since the Rise of Iron showed up. And yeah, just I just a couple more strikes, just a couple more strikes. I don't know what keeps pulling me into this game. And I went back to play a little bit of Pokemans. Been playing the Pokemans a little bit.
Which generation?
Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I have to beat people online in the newest battlefield I can.
Got it. And what about you, Giuseppe?
I haven't played a single game since E3 started. I didn't have a single minute. Like the only free time I had was spent trying to sleep, because the day of E3 I posted 67 articles.
That's insane.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean the day of E3 was, I mean the big day of E3 when it was like
conferences,
Microsoft, Sony, and whatnot. Yeah, and that's it. That's my game. I actually can't wait for the end of the tree. Now it's slowing down a little bit, but there are like so many live streams, so with interesting stuff said. So I've been listening. Today I literally was listening to 5 live streams at the same time. I don't know how my brain managed to distinguish between them. And yeah, that's how it happened.
All right.
And that's it. That's the game. The actual puzzle game of trying to separate different live stream in your brain while you're listening to them at the same time.
Speaking about actual video games, I've been playing my last bits of SteamWorld Heist. I think I'm going to get that review up in the next day or so. Also, playing some Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. That's a long name. It's style. I'm not going to give any final opinions because I can't give final opinions. I can mention that I'm playing it. I got the embargo notes right here, but I could say it's stylish. It's definitely something very new for the Wii U, and I'll give some more cursory opinions next week when we're a little closer. All right, so let's go straight.
But there's too much stuff added to the game.
What? Sorry.
Too bad that there is too much stuff added to the game that shouldn't be there, like clothes.
Yeah. I will discuss that too.
Let's not talk about. Let's not go there.
All right, so
Okay,
let's go straight into E3. We're gonna do the conferences in order. We're gonna say stuff we liked. Yeah. So the beginning one was EA, I believe, right?
Yeah.
They were the first one. Yeah.
All right, so let's all name the millions of things we love from the EA conference.
Well, personally, I'll start.
Okay.
I heard a lot of hate for the fact that they didn't show too much of Mass Effect Andromeda, but I love what I saw. I think it has a lot of potential. Sure, they did. I think people like focused a little too much on the fact that they again showed people drawing on tablets and stuff like that, but it also showed some actual footage, and that footage was interesting, and the premise of the story looked really interesting to me. So yeah, and I love Battlefield 1, of course. Battlefield 1 was absolutely spectacular. Not what they shown at the conference per se, but what they shown afterwards in the live stream.
Yeah.
The gameplay, people actually playing. Besides the absolutely, totally incompetent celebrities that were playing that game, there were people that are able to play that, but like it was people like Jack Frags and other YouTubers that know how to play shooters. Were absolutely dominating the totally inept celebrities that probably shouldn't have been there. But the gameplay was so good, and I don't like shooters, but I like World War One, and that airship, like being shot down and falling on the battlefield, and everyone under it get destroyed, and it remains there at the ruin of the battlefield, and you can fight around it in it, and it's incredible. It's simply, I don't know, it blew my mind.
Right. So, Ryan.
I think for me, it was probably the small glimpses that we got at EA. It was EA Motive and Visceral's projects, right? That we kind of saw. Like we saw some
Yeah.
brief,
Mhm.
mostly for Visceral's game, the game that Amy Hennig's working on, which was like obviously it wasn't much and it was very conceptual, but I think it was cool just getting an idea of what they're working on, which is really cool. Like Giuseppe said, Battlefield 1 was really
That
cool.
gameplay snippet was interesting.
What's that?
That gameplay snippet that they showcased was interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean
Like
it's
they showed a
definitely
little bit of gameplay, just a small glimpse. Of,
a small
it was
glimpse.
interesting.
Yeah. It was definitely reminded me a little bit of when they first showed Battlefront for the first time, and they kind of showed this like again. It was definitely more of like a sort of in development conceptual thing, but I am looking forward to seeing what they're doing, especially since now they have 3 studios or more that are working on different Star Wars games, basically. So
I'm looking forward to, like, 3 years down the line, a bunch of angry articles talking about how they've downgraded from this E3's 2-second showcase of the game. Because that's something
Speaking of
that's going to happen.
Battlefront, by the way. Speaking of Battlefront, I think they pretty much confirmed, even if they didn't say it like explicitly, that this Battlefront 2 stuff is going to have a single player story. Because if Motive is working on it, like they confirmed Motive is working on it, I think they're working on the story. So
they could be, yeah. I think because that was one of the big complaints of Battlefront. The most recent one was that it didn't really have it didn't have single player. It didn't have like a ton of single player content or like a campaign for people to enjoy, which is I think what people really want. So,
Right.
Yep.
Chris, what do you like?
For once in this history of this podcast, Giuseppe and I line up on something, and the little glimpses of Mass Effect that I saw made me all giddy inside.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard from everyone. They're really looking forward to hearing about that. They said I think September, but that's what I'm looking forward to the most too. I also enjoyed seeing Fee. However, they said it both ways on stage.
Fee.
yeah.
But that definitely had a kind of Ori and the Blind Forest / ukulele kind of vibe at the same time. So I'm feeling that. I don't know if it's going to be a game that I like when it comes out, but it looked right for me. So yeah, we got a lot of conferences to go through. Let's just go to the next one. Next on the list was
Bethesda.
Oh my God, Bethesda.
Bethesda.
All right, so what was everyone's favorite thing for Bethesda? Let's start with
Let's start Ryan since he's
Yeah.
the boy.
What fangirl is that your term, Giuseppe? It's like, I think for me,
I'm not going to say that on air.
Overall I really like the conference. Not quite as exciting I think as last year's because obviously they had Fallout last year, so it wasn't going to be quite as big of a showcase. But I think for me, my favorite was actually Prey. I think seeing that was a really nice surprise where we got to see. I am glad too that they didn't go in the direction of doing like a rebooted Prey 2 because honestly, like no one remembers Prey or like at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they went more in the direction of a reboot where now they can get people in that are familiar with the game, but also kind of take it into a new direction. So I'm excited to see more Prey. It has like a cool feels almost kind of like Dead Space or Alien, where it's kind of more of like a psychological horror type
Yeah.
thing. So I'm excited to see more of it.
They had Pete Hines this morning in a live stream. I think it was the PlayStation livecast, and he said that it's not a survival horror. It's not like he explicitly said it's not like Dead Space.
I think it was just
something
more like
completely different.
I think it was just more the vibe of it, like not necessarily gameplay or anything like that. Like
Mhm.
I think I know a lot of people have compared it kind of to System Shock, where they think it'll be more something closer to that, or maybe like a Bioshock type thing. So I think either way, it looks really cool.
elements of survival horror, but not necessarily survival
Right?
horror
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Chris?
I didn't get to watch the entire Bethesda conference because
Never
unfortunately
mind
I
then.
was
Who
stuck at
cares
work.
about your opinion?
Wow! Wow!
Fire.
How am I fired for working?
All right, so what do you like?
I did like hearing certain things like Fallout 4 being in VR. I think is interesting for me. Just that entire world, picturing it like in the headset. If everything runs smoothly and it looks nice in there, I think that could actually be something that's honestly it's could be really cool because it's the first like game that
Actually,
I've
I know why that the whole world is gonna be in VR. Because
Oh, yeah.
that engine is so outdated, it's probably runs well in VR without problems.
Yeah. Giuseppe, what
Yeah,
would,
it's time for Bethesda to change engine. Come on.
hopefully they mentioned that was a big thing, was they mentioned how before they put out Elder Scrolls 7 they have a few more projects to do, two more, and I
Two
said,
games.
yeah, I hope that one of those projects is updating their engine because they severely need that.
Yeah.
And you probably Elder Scrolls 6 because 7, I think it's sent away.
Right. All right, so
You said 7.
uh, anyway, Giuseppe, what do you like?
Dishonored 2 definitely looks good. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially there is a mode in the game that really intrigues me. You can basically tell the outsider, "Go fuck yourself," and you get
Mhm.
no powers. So you play as a normal humans, and
Right.
that's interesting to me. And well, I think I'm a little bit of a sucker, and I'm very excited for Skyrim remastered. Actually, not on consoles because I can care the less to play any Bethesda game on consoles. With all the limitation to the mods, I want my mods without any limitation. So I'm gonna play it on PC and I'm gonna get it for free. So yay!
Yeah, that was great
Yeah.
news that they
I
left
was.
off.
Yeah, it was good because I'm actually planning on playing through Skyrim later this year. And when I found out the special edition, I was like, well, I'm just gonna wait now because it's gonna be coming in October, I think, right around then.
Yeah,
Yes.
October.
Yeah.
I'm gonna replay it because I didn't get to finish it, to be honest. I never finished Skyrim for simple reason that I just put mod over mod over mod over mod, and every day I had a new mod to play with. So
Yeah, well,
who the hell
one does-
finishes Skyrim?
One does not finish Skyrim easily, so it's like
Just gonna throw. I did everything. I didn't have a social life.
I said easily. It's like
Okay.
Yeah.
You probably played it on console and you had no mods.
Giuseppe, all right, okay, all right.
That said, I mean, a lot of
Because
people on
if you play it on consoles without mods, yes, you can finish it because you have nothing else to do.
right. That said, people who
Right.
play on PlayStation really didn't have, I think, the option to even finish the game. I remember playing it originally when it came out, and it was going like 5 frames a second.
Wait, it went 5. I thought it didn't even break a frame.
Matters how many saves you had. I was actually surprised
This
they
is
didn't
true.
they didn't talk about it as much as I thought they would have. It was really kind of just like a passing 1 or 2 minute trailer, and then they just didn't mention anything at all. And I get that Dishonored's the game they're pushing, but they must know that Skyrim's going to be what they're going to be selling. That's going to be their bankroll for the next few years.
I was like, where is the trailer? It was at the back of the trailers. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
It was me and Ryan. Ryan was reporting on the other stuff, and I was reporting on Skyrim, and it was like, are we gonna put up the same trailer in 2 different articles, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, because they lumped together the Fallout stuff and the Skyrim thing in one trailer,
Yeah.
which was weird. So
what the fuck is
it was
that?
weird, yeah.
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 But yeah, I think Elder Scrolls Online actually looked
Who
decent.
cares about that? It's going along.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
Play it.
they made it look good, and if I hadn't played the betas and was severely disappointed by the betas, I would have jumped into Elder Scrolls Online. I was almost tempted now that it's on sale with the PlayStation Network Best of E3 sale to grab it. But it's also at my public library, so I'm just gonna go pick it up there.
I actually played it for at launch for a month. It started so bad. Even the fact that like the if you wanted to play Imperial, like they locked behind the collector's edition, they locked a race. That was I think the most scammy thing I ever seen done in an MMORPG ever.
Right.
And I played basically every MMORPG ever.
I
so
assume
that-
though it's gotten better since then. They must have learned from their faults and.
I
Sure,
played it. I played
got
it a
better,
little bit. I
yeah?
played it a little bit. Since it came out. When it came out on consoles, I think I picked it up like a few months after the initial launch, like after they had a huge update and fixed a lot on it. It honestly ran very well. It played very well. I didn't pay for it, so that also might have skewed my decision on it.
Right.
Because thank you, City Rewards points. Sponsorship.
Nope.
Damn it. All right.
No,
Shutting
But
it down.
It did play very well. I'm downloading the patch, like the newest update that came out now, and I'm gonna wind up playing it after the podcast.
The thing they came out with the old thing that levels don't matter anymore. For me, it's kind of crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still
Because
gonna level up. I'm not gonna just run into the end game stuff
yeah,
because
the
I
whole
won't have
thing,
the experience.
the whole thing about MMORPG, the progression.
Mhm.
Like if you take the progression out, then it's not an MMORPG anymore. There is no goal. You just go wherever you want. It's kind of like World of Warcraft that now they every expansion they just tell you they just buy the expansion and we're gonna give you the top level character for free.
All right, so
Let's move on
that's a lot of
to
Bethesda. Next was
next one
Microsoft.
is Microsoft.
And I'm going to start off Microsoft this time.
Go.
I really, really enjoyed, if it, maybe not a particular game a huge amount, but I loved the style of their conference. I loved the theme of their conference, which was these are all the games coming out in the next year. This is what you have to look forward to the next year. A lot of conferences were showing us stuff in the future, and that's great. But I also like being able to see what I'm playing on Xbox very soon. That said, the most exciting things were hardware, and I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
Okay, go on.
yeah,
For
Uh,
me, definitely Forza Horizon 3 looked so slick. I was awesome. Also, Scalebound, but I'm in love with that game. At the last Gamescom, I gave it like 20 prizes or something like that. I was like, yeah, take all the prizes. I was like, I went there with a bag to Kamiya-san. I was like, take it all. It's all yours. Well, not all the prizes, but almost.
mhm.
Give it like 5 badges or something like that. The game looks more and more awesome every time I see it. And that's those are the two I like the most. But I kind of liked everything they show. There isn't
Yeah,
almost anything they showcased that I didn't like. Scorpio definitely was an interesting announcement because it's a very powerful console, and as a techie, I love powerful things. So I'm
right.
gonna get it when it comes out for sure. I'm going to hold off from the new Xbox One S
Yeah, I think a
because
lot of people are.
my Xbox One works. So why should I get another one?
Mhm.
And I have plenty of space on my shelf. Does I don't look at consoles, I play them. But
Right.
it's great value for people that want it. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. For people that are jumping now on a console, that's awesome. But games wise, definitely Forza Horizon and Scalebound were my tops. I
Mhm.
like them all. That was a very very strong and solid showing from them. And I one thing I liked a lot is that they had for Xbox. They had a ton of Japanese games. They had Final Fantasy. They had Scalebound. They had Recore. It was a very Japanese oriented conference for a console that sells that literally sells 50 consoles a week in Japan.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny, but also awesome. That they had a lot of diversity. That the kind of diversity that I like on stage, which is a lot of diversity between different gaming cultures. They have Japan, they have Europe, they have US, they have everyone, and that's
Mhm.
awesome for me.
How about you? Let's go with Ryan.
Oh,
I
Tekken,
think.
right?
Oh yeah,
Someone
that
say
too.
Tekken on the chat.
I think what like kind of like what you said, Lou, about like there was a lot of focus on hardware and things like that. I think not necessarily like game or hardware, but I think my favorite thing was at the very end when Phil Spencer kind of said how they're trying to not leave anyone behind. Like even though they are announcing all these different hardware and things like that, their intention is to create more of an Xbox ecosystem where it is like even though there are going to be now different hardware where we have the regular Xbox One, the S, and the Scorpio that no matter what you'll still be able to play things. You won't be excluded from other
Right.
experiences. You'll just get better, potentially better versions of those experiences depending on what console you have. So I really like that they are kind of melding the Xbox and Windows ecosystems together and kind of creating the system where it's like no matter where you play you can still get the same experience. I thought was really great. I think in terms of games, the main thing I was really enjoyed was Gears. I really enjoyed getting to see more. I really like Gears a lot, and I'm glad to see see it coming back and kind of returning to something a little closer, like toward the original game. So I think that was for me that and Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves I also really really liked. I thought it was a very fun, cool demo. So and I see
Yes,
Chris is very happy about that. So I'll let him talk more about that.
All right, Chris, what do you got?
So Sea of Thieves was actually the only thing that came out of it that I got really hyped for with the Microsoft conference. And I'm pretty much the opposite of you guys as far as the hardware goes. I did not like the announcement of Scorpio, or I honestly, and I don't like the connected thing because I don't know. It's probably just me. Microsoft is doing a great thing with, hey, here are our games. Our games can be played on everything. But honestly, throughout that entire conference, I didn't see the reason to buy the Xbox.
All right.
You know, like you're pretty much telling me here's all these avenues to play Microsoft's great games, and if that's what you're going with, cool. But I did not see a single reason that I should pick
But that's
up.
great.
an
You don't
Xbox.
need to.
Yeah.
The fact is that you don't need to. They don't like they don't think that you need you. You can play it on PC, and that's exactly what they want. You can, as long as you play their games in their ecosystems, they're fine with that.
Yeah, I think
They don't really need you to buy an Xbox anymore. That's the whole thing.
See, but if you're my argument for that is if you're saying it's cool, I play it on the PC. Why make a Scorpio? You're just
Because
the
saying
people who don't wanna
is
make
it good enough to me then?
PC. Because there are people that can't afford a PC. Scorpio is gonna cost like $500 if it's gonna cost $500 if they're going to go high on the price, or even 600. I don't know how much.
I think they're gonna-
cost. It's not
they're
gonna
gonna
cost
eat
as
it.
much as the PC. And it's also a different approach as a PC. As a PC, you have all. I mean, as I'm a PC gamer, and I absolutely love PC gaming, but there are a ton of people that don't want to bother with all the people with all the things I bother with, like the configuration and all the
Right.
like having to play with the thing to have the maximum performance and having to change your video card every year and stuff like that. That's PC gaming for you, and a ton of people don't care for that, and that's who Scorpio is for. People that want 4K. Oh, 4K. I have to admit, I'm still a little bit doubtful about 4K because 4K with 6 teraflops. I mean, 6 teraflops between CPU and GPU, because it's going to be a one thing. It's going to be an APU. Uh, I mean, it's powerful. It's a powerful console, but it's a mid to low range PC at the moment. Like my GTX 670 is 6 teraflops plus my CPU, and I would never be able to do 4K, not even in this world. So yeah, sure, it's a console, so you can optimize very well for it, but we'll have to see about that. We'll have to see how many developers will manage to push 4K. And Phil Spencer then told that it's about to it's the developer is going to decide if they're going to want to push 4K with their games or stay at a lower resolution and do other things. And I think most developers will. I'm a little bit afraid that it's gonna be like 1080p for the PS4 and Xbox One, with a lot of developers that can push it because they're doing other things. So it's going to be like a catchphrase. Like everyone was absolutely sure that every game on Xbox One and PS4 would have been 1080p, but that's not true. So I'm not going to bank on the 4K. First of all, because I have to say, even if I even have a TV that does 4K by then, I don't know. I don't know if prices are gonna go down that much. I mean, I'm not rich, so we'll see. But more than that, I'm excited about the console itself with the power of it, and it's a different thing. It's not a PC. That the fact that the difference between the Scorpio and a PC is very simple. The Scorpio is not a PC. It doesn't come with all the crap that you have to deal with PC, which PC gamers enjoy, but console gamers don't. So it's going to offer a different experience. You don't need to get a PC if you want certain things, and you don't need to get a Scorpio or an Xbox at all if you don't want to. That's the great thing. And Microsoft is gonna get the money anyway because they're gonna get the royalties on the game, which is what people don't understand. That the real thing, the real business here is not selling consoles. It's very possible they're gonna sell it at a loss or breaking even. Console don't make the money for Sony or Microsoft. not the big money. The big money is made by services, so Xbox Live Gold and PlayStation Network, and by selling the games with the royalties. So as long as you play in their ecosystem, they win.
Right. I'm gonna make a few notes here too. Uh, First off, I think that that the Scorpio is gonna eat the price like crazy. I think that they've learned a lot from the launch of the Xbox One, and that they don't want to, especially if it's going up against the Neo, whatever the Neo may be, or whatever PlayStation's iteration of it may be, to try and battle this. They want to make sure, I think, that they're beating the price point. I think they realized how important that is to consumers. So I don't think we're talking about a $700. Even with whatever specs it is, Microsoft has the pockets that they can shell out if they want to make it a thing, if they want to make it a big thing. I also think that one of the best things that we didn't touch on is the ID at Xbox portfolio, which was actually, I think they had some great indie games on that. And we don't talk a lot about indie games on the podcast because they don't make for big news, but like, I remember looking at it, and everyone always says Cuphead, but they also had Bloodstained and Below and Ukulele, Stardew Valley. Everything on it looked like something I'd want to play. So
Yeah, I will say definitely touching on that was Inside, the new game from Playdead, the guys that made Limbo, where I've been hearing a lot of people that have said that have played the game, and they said it's incredible. So I'm really excited to play that when it comes out.
I'm forgetting the name of the game, but which was the one that that had the joy pills and the pinata that was real dead rat?
We Happy Few,
Happy Few.
which I've played and is a very, very interesting and cool game.
I was gonna say that game looks incredible. I love the concept of that game. I need to play that thing.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, 1 second. We're having an issue with the stream. There we go. Got our faces back on. All right, so we're going long on this segment. How about we go straight into Ubisoft now?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. How about Chris starts off? We'll do something interesting.
Pass.
All right. Ryan, you start off. You lost your chance.
I think for me, Ubisoft, my highlights were mainly South Park, the Fractured Butthole, or Butthole, as many people.
The Fractured Butthole. Get your mind out of the gutter, Ryan.
Well, sure, okay. I really enjoyed Stick of Truth a lot. That was a game that really kind of took me by surprise. So I am definitely looking forward to Fractured Butthole, especially just
the profanity than you.
This is a kid show, Ryan.
I just think also too because like Stick of Truth is easily like maybe the funniest video game I've ever played. Like even though there are plenty of other games that have been funny, like South Park just operates on such a different level of humor and just like and wittiness in writing. So I think I'm definitely gonna look for, especially because that trailer that you showed was hilarious.
What's witty in South Park? I mean, it's all profanity and scat humor.
They've improved lately. It's more politics now.
Yeah, it's a lot smarter humor than you would think, surprisingly.
I think also from For Honor also kind of took me by surprise. That was also a very cool game. I think those are my main highlights. I think the Ubisoft conference went a little long, but otherwise I thought they had a really like diverse, solid range of games that they were showing.
Right. How about you, Giuseppe?
Definitely For Honor was my main choice. But it was last year too. It's nothing new there. The single player part, it's just the icing on the cake. We already knew that there was one. Well, this was the first time we saw it. I liked quite a few things. I didn't like the initial dance because that was pathetic. And really, how French can these people be? But yeah, I liked Watch Dogs 2. That's definitely interesting. I liked the new Steep IP. That's interesting. I'm not much into trick stuff or anything like that, but open world mountains, yay! I like that. I don't like trick games much, like SSX stuff like that.
Right.
But, just the fact that you can explore.
Sports, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that you can explore the kind of environment, I like it because open world games normally don't do much mountains. So that's interesting for me. I thought the Star Trek thing was pathetic, but probably
I think the idea was cool. It just didn't demo well, and it didn't look great either. Was the problem?
I mean,
It was like
I'm sorry. I like to be positive, but honestly, to me, it looked the demo itself. Maybe the idea is great, but the demo itself looked kind of like the early Kinect demos.
yeah. It I think like the idea is
It was
definitely cool.
cheesy
And
like that.
it's very similar to a game I played called Artemis, which is basically like that idea where it's like you're all like team members of a spaceship. I feel like the idea is cool, but maybe it was too early to show it. I think if it was a little bit more polished and looked a little better, I think maybe that.
Who the hell is gonna buy 4 Oculus Rifts to play that thing?
Well, there's also that too. There's
Right.
literally there's literally gonna be 4 people in the world that like do that.
I mean,
like,
okay, you can play
like,
with AI, but what's the point?
yeah.
To do?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. That was weird to. It wasn't bad. It was just weird to me. It was like, okay, oh, good, all right, let's move on.
Well,
Yeah.
let's see.
What about you? What about you, Louis?
That's a good question. They
And
Yeah.
there's why I passed.
see. There were definitely some things that they went on too long talking about. I think honestly they probably
It was a lot of talking.
while everyone
It was,
knew
yeah.
It was a
that
lot of talking.
Watch Dogs is coming out, Watch Dogs 2 is coming out, everyone was certain about it. They probably could have saved that. It would have been it would have cut down some time on other games at the show. I think I'm still most excited between Watch Dogs 2 and South Park, The Fractured Butthole. And I love the fact that they're doing that giveaway for pre-order people for Stick of Truth. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that was a nice little bonus too.
It didn't really run. It ran okay on PS3. Like you could deal with it.
Yeah, it didn't run great on consoles. So
I didn't have too many issues with it on
They
PS3.
did that for Dishonored 2 as well. That's something that's becoming
yeah, it's a more
widespread.
it's a nice bonus. Yeah, that it's like you get a little something out of besides like skin packs or like things like that.
Right.
Yeah, which I don't care.
All right. So next on the list, we'll just move straight along. Is Sony? Sony had a fantastic conference. Love the orchestra. Let's
I'll start there.
Okay.
Okay, well, the orchestra thing. Like, when they started with the orchestra, I was like, yes, this is God of War. I was already writing the article. The orchestra still hadn't finished. I was already writing the article. In fact, probably not. People probably noticed that. I already had the article ready for publishing when Kratos appeared.
Yeah, I will say I think out of all the conferences, like Sony's just presentation wise, I think using the whole orchestra and just kind of like it was my favorite. I think just from that level where it was just like it was an experience, like it was rather than just like a press conference.
Yeah,
so, which was
one
really
thing
cool.
though, the orchestra was really nice, but the lady moaning during the performance, that wasn't as good.
Oh, that was very weird.
That was a little weird.
You know what? They should have replaced her with the Woo girl during the Bethesda conference. That would have been amazing if they got her to sing. That would have been great.
I was like, what the hell is this chick doing?
It would have been. They should have had her.
When Kratos come out, I mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you. I like God of War as a series, like gameplay wise. I totally always, for my whole life, hated Kratos. Kratos always came out to me as a complete asshole with absolutely no personality and anything like.
You wouldn't. Be
This
wrong.
is the first time in my whole life I actually connected with Kratos.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa.
I posted our chat during the stream that it was like Kratos showed more emotion in those 10 minutes of the game demo than he did in 6 games. So it was like before that. It was like,
Yeah.
Now Kratos, the like that trailer was absolutely amazing. The whole game looks incredible, and I'm really looking forward to it. Absolutely, Horizon Zero Dawn was absolutely fantastic as well. That was another thing that really looked good, but no one was surprised. We have seen a lot of that already. I'm happy to have seen a release date for
Last Guardian.
For The Last Guardian. Was probably seen that coming as well, because I was like, at the end of this trailer is gonna come. Another thing that I was already writing when I wasn't writing the release date, but I already was writing it, and we got a release date. I was waiting for it to be announced, but yeah, that was obvious.
Right.
And I'm honestly not very interested in Days Gone.
No.
Not because the game's bad or not, but more zombies. They're not zombies. They're alive, and they're basically Naughty Dogs, like not zombies again. Like no one wants to call them zombies. But
I think
I'm sure there is one thing though that I have to put a little bit of criticism in Sony's press conference, um, and that's that they had too few Japanese games. While Microsoft had a lot of Japanese games, Sony didn't have enough. They
yeah.
had Kojima, which didn't really show a game. I mean that was spectacular, awesome, incredible. I love Kojima. Kojima is my god. I would lick the souls of his feet and whatever. I have an absolute respect for him, but it wasn't showing a game. I mean, that's a concept for a game, and that's awesome, and it looks great, but that's not a game. Sure, they had Resident Evil, but that really didn't look like Resident Evil at all. And then they had the Last Guardian, but there was nothing new there. I mean, they had some Japanese games, but they did not show things like Gravity Rush 2,
Right.
which
Dalo
oh,
Arlance's game of the show. Didn't show
yeah,
it.
Yeah, and they
I've
posted
seen
the they posted
the
the
live stream
trailer.
that they shown afterwards. It looks amazing, and I'm sad that they excluded it from the show. And they have quite a few Japanese games in the works, and they didn't show them, and I'm a
Yeah,
little sad.
they
I
uh
mean,
they they posted the trailer for it like during the conference, but they didn't actually show it like
afterwards,
or do his
just
yeah.
after,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
just on the PlayStation Europe thing, it was
yeah,
possibly American one after who knows what.
yeah,
And that was a bit sad. Kojima, of course, was a great showing. Like it was Kojima was not a game; was spectacle.
yeah.
Uh, he's
Nor.
great. It was the whole conference was focused on spectacle.
Mhm.
So Kojima was spectacle, and that's great. I'm happy to see him back, and I'm back. Yay!
Glad he's
But
working with Norman Reedus again. Norman Reedus and his Norman fetus.
yeah, Norman naked. Um, Everyone saw Norman Reedus, but now we know why the conference was rated M for mature. Uh, But yeah, I mean that will look very intriguing, right? It will look extremely intriguing. But the game is going to be a long way off, and we
Yep.
don't really know what it's about. It was a concept, and it was great to show it, like they shown it.
Yeah.
I have actually seen a rumor about Sony's conference uh, that they were going to show a new Red Dead
I
at
don't
the
buy it.
end. Huh?
I don't buy it.
But that's possible though. I think they had something else for the end
I think they
because
had Neo at the end.
they had something at the end. I don't know what they had, but I doubt they were intending to finish the conference with the demo of Days Gone.
No.
Like the demo of Days Gone probably was supposed to go after the announcement. That was kind of low key in the ending that didn't really seem
Yeah, I
to.
think the conference started really strongly because they started with God of War like right out of the gate, and then they showed Horizon, they showed so many other things like right at the start, and then I feel like the end it did like Days Gone looks good, but I just don't know if it was the same level of excitement that I felt like at the beginning of the conference.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
was like, okay, is this the end? I mean, finish
It
with
kind of it
Kojima
kind of
if you have
fizzled
to.
a little bit. Yeah, it fizzled a little bit at the end, I think.
I mean,
Am I the
end
only
with
one who's blown
Kojima
away
if you
by
have
it?
to. What's best ending?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do think that Red Dead is realistic because when there was the 2K conference called the financial one, they say they were going to announce what Rockstar was working on very soon, and that means E3. And 2K was completely absent from E3. So either they weren't ready or something like that. But I think that's not a completely unrealistic thing.
yeah. The
Uh,
only reason I say that is because I mean, in the span of what we do, we get releases somewhat on confidential releases on what 2K is going with, and they eventually they unveiled Mafia 3, so we knew that was coming beforehand. I would imagine that they would have had some sort of showcase for Red Dead if they had enough for a trailer, but
I think so. There are a lot of games that are not showcased before, and even among confidentials, especially not confidentials as small as we are, and not a big side. So we possibly there are a ton of things that we had no idea about. Like Sony didn't give us any advance notice about God of War for
Yeah,
sure,
that's true.
right?
Yeah.
Like or about any. I mean, they probably show that kind of stuff to like big people like Geoff Knightley or something like that, but
Right.
not to us. And yeah, I knew that God of War was coming, but not just because of logic. Like the signals were there, and
Yeah.
like as soon as they started, that music was like, yeah, that's God of War. Okay, let's start writing. But yeah, I think they had something else. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's Red Dead, but could have been something else. I
Right.
don't think it's Neo. I don't think it's Neo because Andrew House said explicitly that it wouldn't be shown at E3. I
Part of
think they
me,
are keeping that for. Huh?
I was gonna say, I feel like I don't know. Maybe part of me felt like that. Maybe that was the last minute pull, like Neo. Maybe they like,
That's what I thought.
yeah, maybe because of Microsoft with kind of the rumblings of their, maybe for some reason that they didn't want to show it because of that. I don't know. Again, just
I think
speculation on my part,
it's.
but
I think it's not like that even because the philosophy they had for this conference was really all about the game. No talk, no hardware, no nothing.
yeah,
It's no features, not even features. If you look at it, they didn't even talk about PlayStation Plus. They didn't talk about numbers. Actually, I disliked one thing of the conference, but it's as a reporter, which is that the
Right.
pace was too fast.
Breakneck. Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was at the
like
beginning, especially. It was very fast. Like,
yeah, my fingers were hurting.
um.
I really had trouble on staying on the ball in that conference. All the other conferences were pretty relaxed as a pace. This one was like game after game after game after game, not stopping even a second.
I do want to give you a hand, Giuseppe, where we all have our E3 bingo cards of what we expect. We all make sample sample website drafts basically, so that when it's announced, we can go write it quickly, have it up in a few seconds. Giuseppe's were across the board right. I think most of his, if not all of his,
Well,
were
to
correct.
be honest, I had a ton of things. I had a ton of things like in my bingo card, and like a ton of things didn't come true. I mean, because I had so many things, and I mean that it was a very short conference. They had less than expected.
Yeah.
I think it was actually the shortest conference Sony has ever made at E3. It was like 1 hour 10 minutes,
Right.
or less because they actually started late. I think they started
yeah,
5 or 10 minutes late. But I loved it. It was fun. I mean, I love. Okay, let's be honest. I loved it afterwards when I rewatched it. I didn't
Right.
love it when I was writing because I didn't have time to love it.
All right, so
Honestly,
let's
I was.
do
Oh,
go ahead.
who was surprised by Call of Duty by in there?
Very.
I was too.
yeah.
I didn't know I was watching Call of Duty while that trailer
me
was going
too. I
on.
was like, what the hell?
I was
is
like, this seems cool,
Is
and
that
then
a
all
new
of a sudden I was
space
like,
game?
wait.
Is this? I was like, is this Star Citizen? Are they putting Star Citizen on the PS4?
Right. All right, so Chris, we talked a lot about what Giuseppe liked. What was your favorite thing that you saw in the Sony?
So, I liked all of it. But one thing I will say, I don't think Days Gone ending was as anticlimactic as you guys have been saying. Because my biggest thing, the amount of zombies that were on screen, the everything breaking down, the fire effects, all that, and the fact that there was no drop, slow down, the graphics and everything still looked very nice. That for me was huge. I was looking and I was like, as someone who only plays on console, I do not have a gaming PC. That was incredible to me. I loved every second of that ending of that game when just zombie after zombie came flying out at the protagonist, and I also loved that for every demo, not just Days Gone, that Sony was like, "Hey, guess what? We're playing right now. Here's the person playing on 4 different angles in order to prove to you that this is happening on PS4."
Right.
Yeah.
I think my
Yeah. Let's be honest. I wasn't talking about. I wasn't. It was very technically impressive. Okay, Days Gone. I wasn't criticizing the game itself. It's just that I'm not into zombies, even if they're not zombies. So
I think
it's
I
not
think
the
it
game.
felt a little too close to The Last of Us to me. I think was kind of my issue was it did kind of share some vibes of that, but overall like I liked it. I think it's cool. I think like one reader posted that it was almost like Sons of Anarchy meets Walking Dead, which totally is not like which is totally like a compliment to me because I love both of those shows and I feel like this kind of like has that mix for me. So I do want to see more of it.
yeah.
Oh, me too. I want to see more of everything they've shown. Honestly.
Yeah.
Speaking of zombies, though, I think my personal surprise of the show. I mean, of course, surprised that God of War was there and looked as great as it did, but
Surprised? Was that a surprise? Really?
not too much
I
with the
mean, that
leaked
it was
art.
there.
But not with the leaked art, not as much. But maybe that they started with it. That was a surprise.
Okay.
It was really rushed into it, but Resident Evil. I thought that. I know that some people, some classic Resident Evil fans, are upset that it doesn't feel Resident Evil, but I think that they've been going in the wrong direction for a very long time. That I don't mind that they shake it up and they do some more interesting aspects into horror itself. I still haven't played the demo. It's on my to-do list. I hear it's like 30 minutes long, so it's not too bad. But I thought that was a great intro into and like subverting expectations. And also, I'm kind of upset that I never noticed that the kitchen had a 7 in it, the logo.
Yeah.
I'll keep it. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But honestly, I'm not even that much of a Resident Evil fan, to be honest. But to me, it feels like more of a commercial thing. Like, okay, it's a horror game. Let's slap the Resident Evil name over it to sell it. But it's something else.
Right.
It's not Resident Evil. It has nothing to do with Resident Evil. Like I played the demo. I haven't seen much that has anything to do with Resident Evil at all. It can be an awesome game, not denying it at all, but it was kind of okay. Is it really Resident Evil? It doesn't look like Resident Evil. It doesn't feel like Resident Evil. It's in first person for fuck's sake.
Did they say
I
that?
think I feel like I said I think I said during the when we were watching the stream that it feels like they pulled a reverse PT where they did the announcement and then kind of the playable demo. And so I feel like I don't know if I necessarily believe that the demo is going to represent what the final game is like, kind of like what PT was, but I think it's more about a sense of atmosphere and just giving a sense of what the it's going to feel like, where it is more of a survival horror focus. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see whether they stick with the first-person view or not in the
They actually confirm in the press release that the game is going to be first person. Yes.
Oh well, there you go. Then yeah, okay. But I mean, still, at least as as Lou said, Resident Evil's kind of gone in this direction of action for a long time. So I'm glad that they're going back toward the spirit of the original games, where it was more horror and survival focused.
Right.
I'm a little sad that we didn't see anything of Ace Combat 7.
I didn't think that was
No
going to
one cares about Ace
I
Combat.
was
Huh?
surprised we didn't see Persona, actually. I thought...
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
expecting to
as
see
I
that.
said, a huge lack of Japanese games. Ton of Japanese games are coming for PlayStation 4, and ton of them weren't shown.
Especially though, I think with Persona, because I feel like Persona has been building such a its popularity has been rising like outside of Japan as well, and it's been getting so much more exposure. So I feel like it was surprising to not see it there.
Right.
Who is like running a motorbike?
Sorry, this is the sounds of Queens in the background. I muted. So
Someone is just.
What I'm saying, I mean, there
Right
wasn't a
department.
single. There were some Japanese games that there wasn't a single JRPG, not one, and that
Yeah.
was a little sad for me
A
as
bit.
as a fan of the genre. Like Microsoft had a JRPG on their conference, and Sony didn't. Really, what's new there?
Now, I want to ask everyone a small question. It's the only real criticism I see talked about the Sony conference. And people are not upset, but they're possibly disappointed that everything you saw, for the most part, is something far in development compared to, let's say, Microsoft that showed everything coming up soon. They showed just new stuff announced for some point in the future. Yeah, that's I think.
Okay.
who cares? But
I mean, that we're gonna play them sooner or later. I don't
Right.
plan today tomorrow, so we're gonna play them sooner or later. Uh, it's a conference. It's spectacle. The release dates that can send a press release for those.
right.
I mean, it's great to get a press release for The Last Guardian, but that's because we waited for a million of years. So a release date for that is
Right.
yay. But yeah, other than that, oh, we forgot one. We forgot Detroit. That's a
Oh yeah,
big one.
Detroit.
With that looks really good, actually. That looks really good. And I'm honestly pretty damn excited. Today they say that you don't play a single human in that game. All you play
Oh.
multiple characters and they're all androids, and the humans are the bad guy. That's interesting to me.
I can see
That's
that.
I'm
that's an interesting take to the and I like Quantic Dream. I think they're a little
yeah.
quirky. They have their flows, but I think that they have a very important place in the
Mhm.
medium, and I like what they do, and I'm interested in seeing more about it. I hope it actually comes out as the best one they did, because it looks incredible and the story seems very good. And I loved Kara since the first time I seen her.
Right.
Like that was the most charming tech demo I ever seen in my life. I don't know if it's the same for you guys.
Um.
Was no one else excited by Crash Bandicoot?
I was waiting.
I was alright.
I was
My,
gonna
my
say, like-
anticipation face when Lou was like, you know what my biggest surprise was? What surprised me the most and kept saying surprise, I was like, Crash? Lou, you coming with me? And then I was just let down.
Sorry. Yeah.
What's the
it's-
surprise? The guy had a shirt the 1 year ago.
Yeah.
There was no surprise at all. Besides, it was leaked. Uh, but yeah, it's a remaster. And yeah, wait, yeah, a remaster and an appearance in Imaginators. Wow.
I think it more opens the door though that like hopefully maybe if these remasters do well, which I'm sure they probably will, I think
Yeah,
it
will,
could lead
probably.
to I think it could lead to Sony and Activision playing a bit nice when it comes to getting Crash. So I think and maybe doing
But
from
my
there doing
thing
what they
is-
want.
My thing is a little bit. I have a little bit of a doubt there. What's the point in having a new Crash if it's not made by Naughty Dog?
Because Crash is so simple that anyone could probably make it.
Yeah, well, what's the point? I mean, yeah, it was a good game, but if it's not made by the same people that made it, like, yeah, it's a platformer with the Bandicoot in it. That's great. Okay. I mean, I think that the excitement for a new Crash Bandicoot is a little overblown, colored by nostalgia, of course. But I tend to like shy away from nostalgia, and I don't know. It's like saying, oh yeah, this unknown developer here is going to make a new Super Mario game. Yay! So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, great that it's a lot of people want it, so it's great that they're getting a remaster at least.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd rather see new things, to be honest,
Right.
than a new Crash. But maybe it's also the fact that I'm not much into platforms, probably, or jumpy games.
Jumpy games.
I love
Yeah,
platformers. I miss them so
Well,
much. I
Crash
can't wait till they're
Bandicoot is
back.
not much of a platformer if you think about it. It's more a jumpy game.
It's closer than
like,
what I have now,
don't go to
Giuseppe, so I'll
platform.
take
Like
it.
Endless Runner.
Huh?
Like an Endless Runner, kind of.
Yeah, it's more like a runner game, like running jumpy game.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think it's good news. But we're going a little long on
But
this.
it's good news for people that want it. Sure.
Speaking of jumpy games, we gotta talk about the
Uh-huh.
game of the show, the conference of the show.
There is no
Nintendo's Treehouse event at E3, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, I believe, is
Yeah,
the
Breath
confirmed
of the
title.
Wild, yeah.
All right.
Don't you remember the name? That's good.
Oh, it's just announced. It's new. I didn't want to mess it up. Breath of the Wild Hunt.
We've been calling it Zelda U for 3 years.
I know the
now.
Wild Hunt.
Like,
All right. So
Did you just say Wait, did you just say Breath of the Wild?
yes.
Jokingly, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. It's really Nintendo's. They showed off a few things. They showed off the new Grizzo game. They showed off a few new things here and there. No one really cares about that. Everyone on the internet is talking about Zelda, which is the first
Okay,
time.
so let's have Christopher talk about Pokemon since we're there.
Oh yeah, let's do
Zelda later.
Pokemon first.
Pokemon.
Let's get Pokemon out of the way.
Everyone,
So-
turn your mics off. Just
So I mean,
I
the
got
Nintendo
some more
Treehouse
coffee,
event-
bye.
the Nintendo Treehouse event was essentially Legend of Zelda ... star featuring Pokemon for 30 minutes. But so I mean, outside of the fact that they showed off, I believe it was 3 new Pokemon that actually got revealed from Sun and Moon. The biggest things are Pokemon, after like 20 years, has gotten a quality of life upgrade. So this is gonna be more for people who are into like competitive battling like I am. But you can tap the screen, you'll be able to see certain Pokemon stat buffs, which for you three, since you're bored as hell, they're Pokemon that have an ability that'll randomly give them a stat buff, so it'll help keep track of that shit. And overall, just the entire interface, everything looks a lot smoother. They revamped so much. It's nice, it's pretty. Let's start talking about Zelda though, because no one cares.
no. I think it's all very important. There's a huge fan
I'm
base.
very interested.
Don't
you see the deep interest in my eyes?
That's why
I'm like,
Giuseppe,
filled.
I can't tell if that's interest or just E3 like hangover right now.
Yeah.
No, but really, speak more about Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon or whatever.
He's actually
I mean-
really needed some sleep lately, so this is
I mean, Pokemon is like a spin-off of Digimon, right?
No, other way around.
Okay. So it's Medarot.
They're actually both just copies of Metabots, so
yeah.
Okay.
I heard it's kind of like Beyblades, except the tops are living things.
Wait. Isn't it like Pokemon? Isn't it like a ripoff of the level 5 one? What was the name?
Nino Kuni.
Yokai
Nino
Watch.
Kuni?
Oh,
No, Yokai Watch.
Yokai Watch.
we just
I think they kind of copied for that, right? It's pretty
Alright.
much the same.
so. Anyway, let's move on. Ryan, I'm gonna start off with you. Tell me about Breath of the Wild. What's good about it? What do you like? What do you hate?
I mean, I haven't seen a ton of the footage, but I did see like the main trailer. I think obviously the big draw of it is that they're going for more of an open world direction. I know you said how they really seem to be taking it in a very different direction from what we've seen of previous Zelda games. So I think that definitely kind of has me, the most interested in it, especially because the open worlds. Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen like a ton, but I've seen the trailer and it definitely got me excited to see more of this.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably the one, Giuseppe or I, but I'm the one who doesn't hate the game. I'm the one more qualified to talk about it. I watched it for maybe an hour or two yesterday.
I watched for an hour too.
It looked awesome. And I've played a lot of Zelda. I've played all the Zelda games. And the main complaint I think lobbied against them is they're too direct and there's too much tutorialization and it isn't open enough. It's not true to the original Legend of Zelda, the NES one. And this has thrown basically all the concepts out the window, it seems. It has a cold open. You just start out in the world and you explore. And that's been done by other games, but I really enjoy the way Zelda's doing it. I like how Nintendo's handling it. They spoke with Enuma, who said that this is the first time he's actually realized that being lost can be fun. He always thought that being lost was a frustration to gamers, but the true character in this game is the world itself, and this is really kind of the Zelda game I've been hoping for a very, very long time. All right, now go shit on my theories. Giuseppe.
No, it's not that I'm gonna shit on your theories. Certain things certainly looked interesting. It kind of looked like a Me Too from Nintendo. Like, oh yeah, we can do open world too, since everyone is doing that by now. Probably worse than everyone else. Not everyone else, but most. There are a few things that, since they wanted to change all the they said explicitly they wanted to change everything in the Zelda franchise. They wanted to break all the staples. I think it would have been a good thing that they actually broke the one that needs to be broken, which is that Link doesn't speak. I mean, the silent protagonist has been done, and it's it's a crutch for not putting enough story into it, and it's a liability to me. Like the silent protagonist is a big liability for the game, and I think it would be much more interesting. Like my favorite Zelda ever is the Skyward Sword manga, in which Link speaks. I'm talking about the manga, not the game.
Why not
The
the
Skyward Sword
cartoon?
manga is awesome. Zelda is totally. I mean, Link is totally badass. Badass. Sorry.
I said, why not the cartoon? Did you ever watch the cartoon from like
No, I
the?
didn't watch the cartoon. I watched I
Well,
read the manga.
excuse me, princess.
Someone has
Way to
to.
bring an internet meme into the podcast, Lou.
Have you read the manga?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you have to. If you're a Zelda fan, you have to read the manga. Link is the most badass Link ever,
Hmm.
and he speaks, and he's awesome. I
Right.
want to play that Link. I want to play that Link, and this game falls short of that. There is also one other thing that's kind of weird to me. The only thing that this game seems to be doing that's very different from other open world games seems to be a gimmick that gets old really really fast. Which is the fact that your weapon break really really quickly, and you have to steal another weapon from the monsters. That seems to me that it's gonna be. I've seen other games that have done like breakable weapons,
Yeah.
and it's a chore after a while. And weapons that break so quickly, it seems to me that it's going to be like something that gets old really fast. The art style is really pretty, I can say. I like the art style, but the gameplay seemed to be a little boring to me. And I love open world games. I even love the walking simulators, but the whole thing seemed a little bit seemed a little bit like uh, boring, really.
All right.
Um,
I'm gonna pepper in just a little bit more exposition into my opinion on it. I think
Well,
that yes, it is kind of. It feels from what it looked like very empty in some locations. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. If they have a ton of space, that's great. It makes segments where you find something interesting more interesting. If every part of I mean, the witness is great, but when every part of the world is fascinating, um, the fascinating things kind of lose their meaning. They're no longer fascinating. I'm okay with that. The weapon cycle, I don't know how that is. I've had issues in the past with other games that have breakable weapons. But at least from the gameplay loop, it looked like you were constantly getting weapons, so it might not be that big of a deal.
no,
But
it's not a deal. It's just annoying. Like
yeah, it
that
definitely can be.
one thing that's great in RPGs. I know Zelda is not properly an RPG, but it has some elements. But still, one thing that's great in fantasy game, let's say, is that you get your prized weapon and you get a little bit attached to it, right?
Hmm.
You get your sword and then you upgrade to your bigger sword and it's better. The whole looting here it's kind of meaningless because you lose it immediately. You don't really get attached to your weapons or to the loot that you get. It's a little strange, and I think it's gonna be a chore, and I hope they're gonna tone it down. Like for instance, think about Niho. It had a lot of breakable weapons during the first demo. The one by Koei Tecmo that's kind of soul-like game, right?
Hmm.
And a ton of people complained about it, and they're going to tone it down in the actual game or in the new demo that's coming. So I'm hoping people are gonna complain about this breakable thing, and Nintendo tones it down because it kind of breaks the thing for me, and it also breaks the immersion a little bit because weapons don't break after three strikes. You keep to that. And I think that was weird. Was the enormous invulnerability frame you had? There was you have special abilities, special attacks you can do, and like you lose control of Link for like 6 or 7 seconds, and then he's invulnerable for another 2 seconds. And you see the monster that swings through the ring and nothing happens. I don't know if it's something that they're trying to make it accessible and easy to play, or
I think
yeah.
it looked like they were trying to give diversity to ways that you can attack enemies by sneaking up or parrying. But we've been talking a lot. Chris, do you have any opinions on Breath of the Wild?
So I really like the game. Obviously, I think it's super stylized. I think an image came out of the full map for the game, but I haven't taken a look at of that yet. But I
It
hear it's
wasn't the
huge.
full map. It was a bit of the map, but it wasn't full.
They showed what the area they played in E3, right?
The plateau,
And it was
I
still
think.
like
They
giant,
also
right?
shown the surrounding area, but that wasn't all. I think it's bigger than that.
Okay, but I like the amiibo support a lot, and that's kind of biased because I
That's the
have a
first
wolf
thing.
link amiibo. I can't wait to just run around the world with a wolf version of myself just chilling in the background. And I have a little bit of more insight on it. Not saying like you guys don't, but a little bit of insider information. My girlfriend actually works for the Nintendo World Store, and she's been demoing it for the masses. And from what she's been saying, the game is playing very solid. It plays very well. It runs super smooth. Obviously, we're in a demo environment, so they probably gave her a very well made demo.
Right.
But from everything I've been hearing about it, I'm only hearing good things. So it leaves me very excited. And to touch on breakable weapons, just because it kicked into my head, I'm assuming weapons will probably break until you find the Master Sword, and that thing just is gonna be, your bread and
Well, I
butter.
hope so.
The Master Sword just shatters after one
Right?
hit.
This is the only way to defeat Ganondorf. Stab a goblin and it breaks in half.
Yeah,
No.
but then the whole mechanic becomes meaningless.
Yeah, but if they make it very like it's kind of been part of the main quest to get the Master Sword. Originally, that wasn't the case. I mean, the Master Sword, you found it in the original Zelda if you looked for it. But that it might be something like that where it is such an important item, or they make it so difficult to find that they do it like that because it breaks that mechanic, or it becomes that one weapon that you need. But that's just an opinion. I don't know.
I don't know.
would-
It
I
kind
would
of
assume
seems
it's
like
like-
it's the whole thing is meaningless to me. I mean, it kind of you get the old gimmick, because it seems the main gimmick of the fighting of the combat of the game, and then you get the master Sword and it becomes meaningless. I don't know. It may be a great game, but so far I'm mildly unimpressed. We'll see. Again, the Zelda game I want to play is the Skyward Sword manga.
Alright.
When I get to play that Zelda game, I will forgive Nintendo for all the silent protagonists they had until now.
All right, so I think it'd be nice to just wrap this up. We've named everything.
Wait. We have quite a bit of things to talk about, because there has been a ton of announcement out of the conferences.
Okay. What
I mean,
go for
we
it.
can take at least a few minutes talking about that, because the conference had a few stuff, but for me the real highlight of the show was Nier Automata. Nier Automata, today they showed actual gameplay and it looked absolutely fantastic. It's on the site. If you guys missed it, if anyone that's listening missed the article with the actual footage of Nier Automata, go look at it, because it's fantastic. And also, the other real game of show for me is Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
Today they published some footage. First of all, the wait mode. We have turns again. It's not exactly turns. It's more like poses. You can like the game poses automatically when you're not inputting commands, so you can actually give orders to your companion. You can target enemies, stuff like that. So that's awesome. But the best thing was really they shown Alticia, the city footage, and the footage of the flying car, and you can fly around that world and see for Bilbo. It was I honestly did not think the game would look this great. If you missed that footage, go look at it. It's incredible. It's like, whoa, fuck. I'm. It's like all the 10 years of development for the stop eating Pringles during. You're gonna crunch during the podcast, really?
I have a mic. I could actually move it away from my mouth. We could see if you can hear me.
See, I just thought for a minute when Ryan was drinking his thing, I wasn't really paying close attention. It looked like you were chugging chocolate syrup, and I was about to call you a champion.
Chocolate
No, it was just
syrup, really?
it was just water. No, it was just
I thought
water.
it was just like a vial of chocolate syrup. You're just squeezing it into his mouth.
Just a water bottle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really. If you haven't seen that footage for Final Fantasy 15 and Nier Automata, like, go watch it. Go look it because it's 10 years of development of Final Fantasy 15. Like, it happened. It dawned to me. I was sold before, but
Mhm.
now I'm begging.
Super sold.
I like if I'm going to meet, probably going to get a chance to meet Tabata before release, either at Gamescom or at Tokyo Game Show, and I am going to get on my knees in front of him and kiss his feet because he deserves it. I'm gonna lick his shoes or something like that. I'm not gonna really do it, but I'm not muting. I actually begged the Boeing at 90 degrees Toshiro Nagashi to bring Yakuza 0 to the West at Tokyo Game Show. I really did. I bowed at 90 degrees and I begged him. And I was
Right.
like, we'll do our best. So it wouldn't be a surprise. But what about you guys? Is there something out of the conference that you liked?
I've got one.
Go for
Yeah.
it.
So, wasn't the best game, but Dragon Ball Xenoverse, the first one, I thought was a cool iteration in the fighting series. Xenoverse 2, there was a gameplay footage shown with future Gohan fighting Turles. Looks amazing. The particle effects on it look great. The fighting system looks like it was made better, so it's easier to string combos. And it's running in 60 frames per second on all consoles it comes out on. So you guys should look up that gameplay footage. I know it's on Bandai
I've seen it.
Namco's
It's not bad.
YouTube channel.
I've seen
It looks
It's not-
very nice. It looks very nice. So it has me excited.
What about you, Ryan?
Come back to me. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking.
Okay, go for it. Go for it, Lewis.
Actually, mine. If I had to think of something outside, it would be Crytek. They released a VR thing, and it's really kind of just a teaser trailer again. They've shown it before, but
Mhm.
it's Robinson the Journey.
Robinson.
Yeah. And it has this computer that very much seems very Wheatley-ish at times, and also Dinklebot-ish at times. And it looked beautiful, supposedly running on PSVR. But I can't, and also I imagine PC because I don't think it could look like that on PSVR. Even though VR I do imagine will look good. The trailer for it looked stunning and like something I want to play.
We've I know we mentioned it a couple times, but definitely I think Persona 5, because
Great, yes.
I finished Persona 4 earlier this year, and I just like fell in love with that game, and especially because part of that was Persona 5.
Right.
And even though it on one hand it's disappointing that the game's not coming to the U.S. until early next year, but at the same time I'm really looking forward to playing it. It looks really unlike anything else I've ever played, and I'm really, especially just because like I enjoy JRPGs once in a while, but they're not like my genre of choice. But Persona 5, I'm really looking forward to playing. It looks awesome.
I'm a little disappointed that we're probably not gonna get a Japanese track out of it. I really don't like playing that kind of game in English because the voice acting is pretty cheap normally.
Right.
And
Didn't-
I love what they've seen. And today we got the important thing. It's going to have a sexy nurse. That's the important part of that game.
Right. Didn't I read an article today about them considering putting in a Japanese track?
There was
They say
something
it's going
I
to be
think
very
about.
difficult.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There was
Sorry?
something about maybe
Right,
doing
right.
it as DLC. Or no, sorry, I remember reading that saying something about maybe doing it as DLC, but it wasn't like 100%
Yeah, they
confirmed.
say it's going to be very difficult, so I'm not going to bet my life on it.
Got it. All right, so very, very quick, one-line answers. I just want to hear everyone's personal favorite game, takeaway game from this E3.
It's impossible for me. Too many things.
They're warring. Yes, I
Too
know.
many things. I can't choose.
Ryan, do you have a definitive one off the top of your head?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Ooh, good choice. Chris, do you have one off the top of your head?
Oh, there's so many.
The bathroom, come on.
I'll just throw Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves, nice. Mine is very, very difficult. There was a lot in Sony, but I'm going to go with Breath of the Wild. I thought it was incredibly impressive and reminded me of a very nostalgic game. Now, Now, Giuseppe, are you sure you don't want to pick one? You can throw in some PlayStation.
It's impossible. There are really too many great things.
They're all great.
I'd be remiss to choose one. Like
Yeah.
I would be unjust towards so many things if I choose one. So I'm gonna stay like everything.
Okay. All right. So we're done with that segment. Just in case you didn't, I know we're going a little late. Sorry about that. We try to keep it an hour, but we'd be remiss. Speaking of remiss, if we didn't do 8-Bit Idiot, we missed it last week. We gave people a pass. We got one this week, and I
Yeah.
think it's a very important one.
Like it was actually the first day of E3, and we couldn't find it. I was like, okay, this is going to be the 8-bit idiot because there is no way anyone is going to top this, and we're going to go into sensitive stuff. So we
Yeah,
apologize if we offend anyone. That's not our intention, right?
of course. Except
So
you, I
do you want to
absolutely mean
introduce
to
it,
offend you.
Lou, or you want me to do it?
I'll do it because I just like going into what 8-Bit Idiot is. For those of you listening for the first time, 8-Bit Idiot is our segment of the week where we highlight a problem area of the industry by proxy of someone who did something a little boneheaded during the week. Everyone has their days off. Everyone has their controversial things, uh, be it me, you, or whoever the random person in the industry is that week. But I think it's fun to highlight them. This week, the winner of the 8-Bit Idiot, if there is a winner, I don't know what you call it, is uh, The Verge, I believe.
The Verge, yes.
Yes, it is The Verge, who also owned by Vox Media. So by extension, more or less Polygon as well. But it was an article that came out saying, how do you sell violent games after a tragedy? Pretend like it didn't happen. This followed EA's press conference, and the author of the article really, really dug into EA for what he believed was not giving a mention to the violence and the tragedy that happened in Orlando, and then continuing to sell violent video games and making violence look cool. Um, so yeah, that's the very cursory. If you want to read the article, go ahead. You could go Google it. But
And if you want to lose some brain cells,
so let's go, Giuseppe.
well, first of all, complete respect for the tragedy that happened, and it's great that some companies willingly uh, acknowledged it, and great, and EA did as well. They sent a message about it, but very simple thing. It's a very simple concept. Fictional violence not equal uh, to real violence. Not the same thing. Actually, fictional violence, fiction in general, is escapism. And I know a lot of people living in Orlando that enjoyed E3 and the conference and all the games that were shown. I know three different people told me all three the same thing, because it actually allowed them to take their head of things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what games are for. And even whether they are violent games or non-violent games doesn't make a difference. It's not young like that, Ryan. My God. Anyway, it's a very simple thing. It's fictional violence. It's fiction. If you lambast violent game, then you should lambast violent movies, violent books, violent everything, and that's not the case. So even after that kind of tragedy, it would have not made sense to remove the biggest game that was Battlefield One. It has absolutely nothing to do with that kind of violence, because it's soldiers fighting. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a game developer, Jonathan Blow, after this, which goes into the 8-bit idiot. I'm sorry, uh, saying that the E3 demonstrates that it's cool to play mass murderers, and for me that's insulting. because what we've seen in E3 was mostly the representation, realistic or fictional, mostly fictional, of soldiers. So you do not make the equation soldiers equal mass murderers, because that's not true and insulting. I'm the son of a soldier, and I felt insulted by that.
Right.
Uh, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people that feel like me, but mostly uh, the whole thing is that fiction is fiction. Of course, we're gonna hear we see some developers that work on non-violent games. They're unfortunately tried to jump on this to make a political statement, which for me is scummy, to say the least, because using this, and the same goes for journalists that did the same. You talked about Polygon, and there was another journalist from Polygon that made a long string of tweets lambasting violent games after that. And for me, games are games, and whatever they reproduce or display, they have their place. Violent games are their place. I enjoy violent games. I enjoy non-violent games. I enjoy Journey, and I enjoy Battlefield. I'm not even a big shooter guy, but I still think they have the dignity, and insulting, because this is insulting the work of so many developers that work years to for that moment in which they revealed that uh, that thing on stage, uh, saying no, you had no place there.
Right.
That's terrible for me. And the fact that some other developers joined in make me feel bad for that, actually. Uh, and that journalist that started it, I think that was a real scummy move. To be honest, the timing of it was suspicious for me, because the article came out almost immediately after the E3 conference from EA, so fast. I don't know how the hell he wrote it. Um, it was really something. Either he can write super fast, or write and think about what is writing super fast. Well, there wasn't many thought going into. It wasn't much thought going into the article, honestly, but it almost seemed like they saw what happened in Orlando, and they had the article ready before, waiting for a conference that's shown Bione's game, and maybe with a blank on the name of the conference of the publisher, and just ready to lambast them for clickbait. That's the sad thing for me, turning a tragedy into clickbait, using it to throw a political message, because, but not even because, probably because they care about the political message, but just because they know that stressing on it will bring them clicks. And honestly, it feels desperate. It feels bad. It has a very big bitter taste in my mouth.
Right.
And honestly, that's the disrespect for the work of developers that so many people worked on Battlefield 1 or on the other games that were shown. And I know, because I talked with so many developers that tell me how great it is for them to be on that stage, finally showing what you worked so hard for, and telling them, no, you should have just stepped away and not shown it. That's beyond stupid for me.
Right. All right. So I want to kick it over to Ryan. Ryan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, in the wake of something like the Orlando shootings, which are obviously a terrible tragedy, like that there are a lot of, you know, it's tough with the timing of something like that, where at E3 you are seeing a lot of trailers for games that are, that are very violent and contain a lot of scenes of, things that might be sensitive, especially in the wake of something like that, and I don't necessarily agree with that stance that the article took, where it was, like Giuseppe said, where it was just, I think at the end of the day, these are just games. There is a difference between digital violence and real world violence. And even though, EA may not have necessarily acknowledged outright, like during the conference, I think that, those that did, like it was, I was glad to see at least like Ubisoft did it. Bethesda, I think they had the pride ribbons they were wearing during their conference as well. So I am glad that, like, even if not necessarily everyone acknowledged it, at least at large, the industry acknowledged that it was this terrible tragedy. And even though, ultimately this is an industry about entertainment and, about entertainment, that they still acknowledge that, there are these tragedies in the world, and at least that we can be all part of this together.
Right. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much fall in line with Ryan. Like, it's something that I'm glad people like did acknowledge, but to say that, how dare you show something in the wake of a certain event? It's annoying and it's dumb. Like, and to go on to a bigger point, and obviously it's
For
a
your
tragedy
family's
and everyone
future.
acknowledges
Financial
it as
guidance
such.
while you're mastering
But in the end of the day,
from Chase.
E3 is a conference that is meant for gamers and viewers around the world. It's not just the United States. This is something that clearly affects us way more than it would, say, Giuseppe,
Mm-hmm.
because he's not here.
Actually affected me because I'm sad about it, and if I don't live about it, I mean, I if people die, I don't care where they're from. I don't care about anything about like what makes them different from me. I don't look at the difference from nationality or whatever. I looked for me just people that died. That's terrible. So I'm affected. I don't think I'm affected less than anyone. I'm probably affected less than people that live in Orlando because they're
Yeah.
there and
Yeah.
maybe their friends
They're obviously
are,
right in the midst of it.
Yeah, and
but
that's
I
sort
was
of what I'm
I
referring
was
to.
devastated. But uh, I think it's not respectful to push politics into it.
Yeah.
Like it's using a tragedy for something, right? And that's using a tragedy. Some people use it to throw a political message, and others to grab clicks. And those are scummy actions for me.
So you were saying, Chris?
Yeah. So,
Sorry,
and
go ahead.
in the end, the idea of like it's glorifying violence is it's simply not true. It's I was a media studies major in college. And one thing that everyone kind of harps on, that pretty much the entire media takes a stance on, is it's called they call it the hypodermic needle theory. Is someone sees something and they do it, which has long since been disproven. And it's violence in media, as we've all said, it's across all forms of media. It does not equate to real life violence. It never has. It never will. And at the end of the day, what happened in Orlando is a tragedy. But don't try and call out people for doing their job.
Right. Yeah, I think those are
What
all.
about you, Louis?
So I got a few things about this. I think that it was particularly pretty scummy that they did this to EA. I think it was a pretty base. They could have said it about anyone, but I think they did it for EA because they got the least amount of resistance for EA. There is
Yeah.
a negative connotation to EA, and
Easy target.
yeah, and I also don't think that's fair, especially to them in this subject, because if I had to think of one studio that was probably the most proactive about the LGBT community, it would be EA. I think they do a ton of proactive efforts for them, and they really got the shit end of the stick there, where they were the first to go on. The news was mostly still, for the most part, breaking when they had to announce stuff. I'm sure that, while they could have said something, there wasn't a lot of information out there, and it wouldn't have. I don't think it would have even been beneficial for them to do it at that juncture. More specifically, I don't like how video games in general have worked so hard since the 90s to separate that connection that video games will cause violence, like Chris just mentioned. That's something that has been in the forefront of American news in the past, politics in the past, and I think that's really bad that an article on a website that is, I guess The Verge isn't a video game website, but it's certainly a tech-centric website that talks about video games. I think it's awful that a site would try to bring us back to that point, that to try and lose ground on that, that we've worked so hard to show everyone how stimulating video games are in other aspects, but absolutely not violence. But yeah, I think that I think everyone did a good job. It was done for the most part very tastefully at E3 when companies wanted to, but by no means were they under any obligation to. And I think it's awful to guilt them into it. Because
Yeah.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know how many of the people who actually did it to avoid this kind of press, or because they actually wanted to make the message themselves.
I'm sure a lot of people were honest in that, at least.
I'm sure, but it gives that doesn't like I feel like it creates a kind of either smugness with the writers that they had an impact on it, or that connotation that, oh well, they only did something because of this. It robs them of the goodwill, I think.
Probably, yeah. That sure creates a little bit of the suspicion. What are you playing with controllers?
I'm slowly packing up my Wii U.
Oh, really? You're throwing it away?
No, I have to go review this game in my room.
No, there is one thing also that it kind of hurts me. I mean,
Okay.
I fought against censorship all my life against the idea that like games or entertainment in general could be associated with causing violence. Honestly, I'm seeing more and more journalists turning into Jack Thompson.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like Jack Thompson is back, but now it's inside game, and that because journalists know that if they kind of play Jack Thompson, they are going to get a lot of clicks.
Right.
And I hope they get this barred as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little sad for me to see it. As someone that has fought against this kind of idea for his whole life, because I worked in anime before working in video games. So, and I worked on the side of the industry there, like because I was working in localization,
Right.
and here in Italy we had a big kerfuffle with censorship on TV and stuff like that. So there was kind of the ones working on the home video side, which I was part, kind of against the ones working on the TV side, was doing all the censorship, and psychologists throwing all kind of shit into the argument about anime making you violent, making you gay, like it's a bad thing.
Okay.
I'm not joking. I know now we're going completely on a tangent, but I'm not joking. We had the in Italy we had the actual head of the order of the psychologist going on TV to say, and it was the 90s, so put it in the context, that anime makes you gay.
Awful.
Like pushes children to become gay. I was, oh my god. So
They
I
clearly
thought
didn't watch Sailor Moon.
that was about Sailor Moon. It was about Sailor Moon.
It's about Hamtara.
I'm 100% like serious. It was about Sailor Moon. Anyway, I've been playing. I've been fighting this battle for all my life, and I've seen journalists going from defending the medium and the games, anime, whatever, to actually being the attackers, and that hurts me.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, that was a heart-wrenching. It just because the subject matter itself, because of the reactions, but an 8-bit idiot. Normally, it's more cheerful than that, but
Yeah.
this is
It
just
needed addressed, I think, right?
what?
It needed to be addressed.
It definitely needs
Yeah.
to be addressed. All right, so let's wrap everything up. We're going to do the upcoming games of the week. There were some games I think that were announced at E3. We don't have them added on here, but I'll list off what we do have. Everything's coming out the 21st. Deadlight Director's Cut for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Grand Kingdom for PS4 and Vita. Resident Evil Umbrella Corps for PC, PS4. Mighty Number 9 for 360, PC, PS3, PS4, Wii U, and Xbox One, finally coming out. And Pac-Man 256 for PS4. And that's it. It was a longer show than normal, but thank you for sticking with us. There was a lot to talk about with E3. Happens once a year, so we got to go a little bit more.
I think you forgot Mighty Number 9 for toasters, washing
Oh,
machines.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget your vacuum cleaner.
Yes. All right, so we'll do the social media plugs. If you want to find us, we are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just go to whatever social media site you like, look up DualShockers, and we'll probably be there. If you're looking on YouTube, it's a little bit different. You can find us at youtube.com/DSTV Originals. To come watch and be part of the show every Wednesday, join us at 8:30 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/DualShockersLive. And by the way, thank you everyone who's been here. Listen to us rant about E3. Finally, you could find our round-the-clock news coverage, reviews, features, and editorials over at DualShockers.com. Come read the 88 stories that Giuseppe wrote in one day. It's
It was
amazing.
67.
67. Still impressive. Still wildly impressive.
You want to kill me, huh? I don't think I can get to 88 without dying.
All right, and that's everything. Thank you again, everyone, for watching. Thank you, guys, for being here. If you want to find me over at Twitter, I'm right. My stuff's down there, but at Luke and Taldi. Ryan, what's your Twitter address?
Just my name. Don't wear it out. It's Ryan Meisler on Twitter.
And Chris?
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Moxiemonths.
All right, and Giuseppe, we know you don't like reading yours.
Just down there.
All right.
Just read it. It's easier, but why the hell are you saying it? I don't get it. You
You
think
got
people are
to
going
say it
to
for the
actually let you
iTunes and the
dictate it to
SoundCloud
them?
people, Giuseppe.
Yeah,
All
there's
right.
people on the podcast. They can't see it. Anyway, we're going to go into the theme song. Bye, everyone.